Good morning. It's Saturday, the 18th of September. Our top story. Holiday companies say they expect a surge in bookings after the government announced rules around international travel in England were being eased.
The traffic light system has been replaced with a single red list, but there's been some concern that scrapping PCR tests for people who are double jabbed will impact the country's ability to monitor coronavirus variants. Simon Jones has this report.
Half-term holidays abroad look set to become simpler and cheaper for many families, to the relief of the travel industry.
It's very important for the end of the season. There's lots of people who haven't had a holiday for 2 years. I think it's a big boost for the industry. And what we've said all along is the best support we can get from the government is being able to fly again.
From the 4th of October, fully vaccinated travellers returning to England from countries that aren't on the red list will no longer need to take a test before they travel. And from the end of October, they won't need an expensive PCR test on their return. It'll be replaced by a lateral flow test. Children will be treated the same as vaccinated adults. But if you're not double jabbed, it's very different. You'll need to test before you travel back and self-isolate at home for 10 days, as well as pay for PCR tests.
Be aware that if you're not vaccinated, I'm afraid there are, by necessity, there's more costs and bureaucracy involved under the system.
Travel agents are gearing up for a busy weekend of bookings.
This is what we've been waiting for a long time. It takes away all the confusion, and that's been one of our biggest barriers and one of the biggest reasons why people haven't been wanting to book. They're confused.
But some scientists have warned that fewer people taking PCR tests, which are sent to labs for analysis, could make it harder to identify new variants of the virus being imported into England. At Stansted Airport, some travellers were concerned.
I think it's good to keep the testing in a way. I think it's safe for everyone. Yes, we have to live with COVID. However, I think it's still important to get things tested.
So anyone that's double jabbed should be able to travel, I think, without any extra tests and things.
The new travel rules in England will remain in place until the new year at least. The Welsh Government says it's considering whether to follow them. Northern Ireland has yet to announce any decision. But the Scottish Government won't at this stage change the tests travellers need to take due to what it calls significant concerns about the impact on public health. Simon Jones, BBC News.
An American general has admitted that a drone strike that killed 10 innocent people in Kabul was a tragic mistake.
An aid worker and 9 members of his family, including 7 children, died in the blast. The US had initially claimed they targeted a suspected suicide bomber. Naomi Iqbal has this report.
These are the victims of one of the US military's final acts in Afghanistan. 10 innocent people, including an aid worker and 7 children, were killed in an American drone strike days before the US left for good. The youngest, Samaya, was just 2 years old. America thought it was targeting ISIS-K, the terrorist group that had carried out a deadly attack days earlier at Kabul airport, killing 13 US troops and hundreds of Afghans. But the military now admits it got it wrong.
I offer my profound condolences to the family and friends of those who were killed. This strike was taken in the earnest belief that it would prevent an imminent threat to our forces and the evacuees at the airport. But it was a mistake, and I offer my sincere apology. As the combatant commander, I am fully responsible for this strike and this tragic outcome.
This drone strike was part of President Biden's controversial over-the-horizon strategy, which involves fighting terrorists from the sky, not on foot. The general said the intelligence suggested that a white car, similar to the one they struck, was about to be used in an attack on the airport. But they also misinterpreted the loading of water bottles into its boot as explosives. Amal Ahmadi, the father of the young girl killed, spoke to the BBC at the time.
My brother came from his work, want to park the car in here, and their children. It was in the car. On that time that happening occurred.
And how many people from your family died?
10 persons died in here. We lost 10 persons, including of my daughter. He was 2 years old.
General McKenzie says the US would consider paying reparations to the family. However, He said America stands by its intelligence. This awful mistake further dents the US military's reputation that's already been damaged by its chaotic withdrawal in Afghanistan. Nomia Iqbal, BBC News, Washington.
France is recalling its ambassadors to Australia and the United States in protest at a security deal which also includes the UK.
The row is over the cancellation of a contract to supply French-designed submarines to the Australian Navy. Experts say this could damage relations for years and have broader consequences.
Students who are not yet vaccinated are being urged to get their COVID jab during Freshers' Week.
Dozens of universities have set up pop-up clinics and walk-in centres as the new academic year begins. Megan Patterson has more.
Have you registered with a GP?
A new addition to the usual Freshers' Week festivities at Oxford Brookes University.
Make sure we've got 0.3.
Pop-up clinics and grab-a-jab drop-ins all aimed at encouraging as many students as possible to get vaccinated amid some concern about COVID spread in young people.
We are aware just before the summer there was quite a high increase in COVID infection rates amongst the 18 to 24-year-olds, so we're really keen to try and sort of capture them just as they're coming back to university to make sure in the environment they live in, maybe in shared houses, that we minimise the spread and the transmission of COVID as much as possible. Obviously we want people to really enjoy their university terms and so it's to really make it possible for them to do that.
In England, 72% of young people aged between 18 and 24 have already had their first jab. Among them is Holly, now waiting for her second. It's as much about her own freedom as protecting others.
Socialising with other people, I would like to be vaccinated and eventually I'd like to be able to go on holiday. I'm worried about family members getting it as well because they've got to go to work and all of those things. So financially they need to be able to go off to work. So it's important for me to get it as well.
Thank you for coming.
With so much disruption to college and university terms last year, it's hoped increased vaccination will keep students well and return face-to-face teaching as the norm.
We do want to have students back on campus, but we want them to feel safe. We want everyone in the university community to feel safe. I think the first thing that we're really focusing on with all students is do take the opportunity to get vaccinated. We know that vaccinations are the best protection that individuals can take. It's the best protection for the university community as a whole.
Many universities will still ask students to wear masks and will manage timetables to avoid overcrowding. NHS teams hopeful that, coupled with increased vaccination, will not only maximise student enjoyment, but also reduce pressure on services as we approach the winter months. Megan Patterson, BBC News.
Now, having stood for more than 60 years, the Dorman Tower has long been a symbol of Teesside's industrial heritage.
It will be demolished tomorrow despite a long campaign to try and save it. Ian Reeve has this report.
The posters may be up, but Teesside's Dorman Long Tower is coming down. Just a week after being listed by conservation body Historic England, it's been delisted. This former coal store, part of South Bank's coke ovens and the wider Redcar steelworks, found not to be of any great architectural interest and in a state of some disrepair. For Tees Valley's mayor, who controls the site, relief. The tower could be in the way of a new wind turbine factory promising jobs.
We have to prioritise giving people opportunities and jobs and saving taxpayers money. I mean, 2,000 jobs is not to be sniffed at. Now, those people that say that this is a piece of heritage, you know, my argument would be that Teesside's heritage is in the structures that built the world. It's in the One World Trade Centre, it's in the Shard, it's in the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Those are the things that we should be taking pride in.
Signing off the delisting of the Dorman Long Tower was the first act of the new Culture Secretary, Nadine Dorries. The race is now on then to try and prepare the 1950s tower for demolition early tomorrow morning. 3 other structures will also come down, but the Dorman Long Tower will be most missed. The former bridge builder, a famous name, building, amongst other things, the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
A steamer puts out to sea, whilst on the roadway a stream of motor traffic glides by, and all round is a web of steel spun by the industry of men.
The industry of men on Teesside, of course, when iron and steel and chemicals defined the area. For some, then, demolition seems like a severing of a link with the glorious industrial past. Certainly so for Lisa and Ian, taking a last look today.
It's a receptacle of so many memories for so many people here through generations, looking back on, you know, their forebears that have worked here, and I don't know if we can throw all of that away.
We're very proud of it at Teesside. You'll go to a borough match and we proudly say, well, you know, Ironopolis, we built the world. Can't we remember that? Other than just singing songs about it, I think we need to actually, you know, I think we deserve at least part of its keeping.
The tower would have cost £9 million to retain, so demolition beckons. Blown up, brought down early tomorrow morning, ending its life not with a whimper, but a bang. Ian Reeve, BBC News.
It's always interesting when something so iconic is removed from a community, isn't it? Or, like, you know, you drive along and it's often with these things, you drive along and you don't notice it or you don't think of it, and then all of a sudden it's gone and you realise, actually, this defined such a character of our area.
You can see why people campaign.
Yes.
As they have.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.